Blizzard got real about Overwatch 2.
2025 changes have hit.
Okay.
And boy howdy, they really needed it. 2024 was a fairly awful year for Overwatch 2, right? They'd had years of tweaking the game, not really doing that much, loads of bad headlines, them being stuck in the defense. And to sum up the change in strategy, there is a quote from the director. This is no longer about playing it safe, which I think most of us will say, yeah, about bloody time, and in a world where Rivals exists, you absolutely can't play it safe. And Overwatch 2 did feel safe, even though if you think about it, Overwatch 2 is an absurdly risky game. Not only, yes, did they jettison loads of their audience knowingly, but it's basically them snatching defeat from the jaws of victory with Overwatch, and then scrambling to keep a husk of a game that they salvaged alive.
True.
Again, because that's actually what happened with Titan, leading to Overwatch, even if it meant amputating PvE, amputating a whole development team to support that feature. It's pretty damn crazy, and now they're essentially doing Overwatch 2 2. And that we're seeing foundational game changes, the first of which have hit with Season 15. So, to start, let's break down what their offer is and see if it's even something that we want. As you watch this video, Overwatch 2 Season 15 has just started, and Blizzard have previewed content all the way up to Season 18, which is well into the back half of 2025.
Yeah.
And for once, it doesn't look like it's all fluff, which basically is what most of us would have expected. We're seeing game fundamentals be changed, new modes that actually feel like new, and rewards, especially loot boxes.
Yeah.
The first big feature,
loot boxes was
is
huge.
perks, and the perks are game-wide. Basically, the way this works is that within a match, heroes can level up twice. Each time they level up, you'll be able to select from 2 perks. Now, your first perk selection is going to be a minor thing. They gave examples like Torbjorn's hammer repairing allies' armor, or him getting a free reload when he uses his E. But the second perk is basically a major upgrade. For Torbjorn, those are either super jazzed up tier 3 turrets, or your turrets being
I like
sticky,
that one better.
which I can imagine will lead to all manner of
No
bullshit.
more!
And honestly, I'm actually kind of down for that. Because what it's doing, right, is it's tweaking the build of a character that I enjoy. It lets me do that to better fit the match that I'm in, rather than just fully swapping to a new hero. That actually does sound kind of neat to me.
The perks are amazing.
And big picture,
they really are.
It's a foundational change.
It's a good
something
change.
that'll actually
It
change it
genuinely
minute to
is a
minute,
good
which
change.
is sorely needed. For other things then, well, 5v5 versus 6v6 certainly has escalated because they're now adding in a competitive 6v6 queue. But then there's the big headline grabbing thing, loot boxes. It's kind of funny, right? In the year 2025, people are praising the return of loot boxes. That being said, there was some fear.
They're praising loot boxes because it means that by just playing the game and putting in time, you can eventually get all of the skins that you wanted just through gambling your time, not actual money. Okay, because in Overwatch 1, for me personally, I didn't spend a single dime on any skin besides play the game a lot and gain every skin that I could have ever wanted. Loot boxes allowed me to collect every single thing without spending money because I spent my time on the game. That's why people are praising loot boxes coming back. Not for the fact that they want a gamba, but for the fact that they don't want to spend money and they have a chance to get a good skin or a good item by just playing the game. That's why.
We know what this is. You're immediately going to use this to just make way more money, because if you look at everything else that they did, mythic skins, mythic weapons, mythic prisms, I mean, it would be following like standard procedure. But no, actually, this time we're getting loot boxes, but not in the way that they were exploitative bullshit like in Overwatch 1, which is honestly kind of
I'm gonna be honest. If you were buying loot boxes in Overwatch 1 and you were complaining about the gambling aspect, that's a you problem, and that's only a you problem. Okay, I really don't care. I really don't care. Okay? I don't care. That's a you problem, bro. You chose to gamble your money on loot boxes. I gained all the skins I wanted without spending a single dime. I just spent my time. That's on you, bro. Like, they don't even be like, oh, but you know, they're enforcing gambling. No, they're not. No, bro, you could have gained all the skins you wanted. You just didn't want to. You wanted a shortcut. And then you want to complain about
Basically,
gambling.
the way it works is this. You'll find loot boxes as rewards on the free and premium battle pass and on challenges. That's it. with the big thing being no direct purchases of those loot boxes, although, as I'll get into, unless you're in China, because they've got something else going on. Now, technically, you could buy a bunch of Battle Pass tier skips, or, you know, buy the Battle Pass to get the ones that are on the Premium Pass, but, yeah, that's kind of that. It's way more simple. It's just a better way of you getting rewards versus, I suppose, the usual torrent of filler Battle Pass bullshit, which I think we're pretty much all over by this stage. Now,
I don't think the filler battle passes are over. I mean, have you seen the recent battle pass the battle pass they put out? It's not that great. It's bad. I mean, there's like 2 good skins and the rest are just throwaways, like skins that nobody would want or buy or spend any money on or even want to open in the loot box. They were straight up throwaway skins. Like the Torbjorn skin in the battle pass it's dookie. Like I don't want that. I don't know anybody that wants that. I also, on the topic of battle passes, why don't we go back to giving everybody a mythic in the battle pass? Why are we separating these 2 things? Because that was that really got people to buy battle passes because they would work towards the battle pass and get a mythic at the end when they completed it. Why are we separating them?
Okay, there's actually more things. Like, there is the usual coming. You've got a new hero, Freya.
Okay, yeah.
Hero bans in competitive. It's kind of interesting. But
hero bans should be out by now. I don't know why you introduced it in the competitive scene, but not in Overwatch normals. Like, only the pro players get it. I feel like it was very dumb to introduce it to only the pro players, but then not put it... Like, I understand these perks are new, but hero bans and perks could be in the same season. You don't have to wait an entire season. Like, that's just unnecessary.
But most of all, there's a new game mode that is called Stadium. Now, when I think about a new game mode for something like Overwatch,
I'm excited
it's
for
not
this.
a massive change, right? Like, yes, it can be fun, like, say, Flashpoint, if I'm already an Overwatch player. But it's not really a new mode of play or a new reason for me to play if I'm not already embedded.
Right.
That's actually where I'm kind of interested in Stadium. So here's the deal with Stadium. It's a 7-round mode. In rounds, you earn coins. And then in between the rounds, you spend those coins on ability modifiers. Now, these are modifiers that are separate to the perk system that's rolling out game-wide. And they're honestly kind of wild. It's things like Reinhardt.
It's like Valorant.
Flying behind the enemy through the air before using a lava-like sparking version of Fire Strike. Soldier 76's Biotic Field actually giving an attack speed buff to people who are in it. Kiriko teleporting about the place and loads of wacky things.
Yeah.
Basically, right? It seems to be Counter-Strike style econ gameplay between the different rounds. It's a little bit more similar to something like, say, Deadlock from Valve with a few of the character things.
Oh, true.
Or, of course, Paladins.
It is more like Deadlock. He's right.
Which, by the way, Hi-Rez have just announced they've paused development for.
Yeah,
anyway,
sadly,
what's most obvious, though, is it's third person. Obviously, a lot of people are thinking about Rivals, and also putting my thinking cap on. Yeah. If you want to sell skins, rather shockingly, being in the third person is better than the first person, because then
people can actually enjoy the skin that they bought and they can see it. And, you know, I know people like, yeah, but, you know, like, why does it matter? Bro, visuals matter. They matter in a video game. A lot of video games like to just dismiss visuals, and they're like, no, but if the gameplay is good, yes, but the visuals also matter, bro. People want to have good visuals. They want to see their skins.
People can see the thing that they purchased. Though, look, putting that bit of cynicism aside, I'll say credit where it's due. Look, you guys know I have been really goddamn harsh on Overwatch, right, for a long time. This is actually something that, to me, feels new and different, right? So credit where it's due. This is them building more game features and more in-depth mechanics with perks, with Stadium, not just doing the status quo, which to me has just been minimally delivering content whilst ramming the game full of financial asks that feel wholly unearned.
I don't know.
The 42 heroes, but they've staffed up a full team to carry that mode going forward. And in a way that may look like a minimum viable product. I do kind of get that, actually, but it's very new. What they're doing with the perks does seem like a lot of complexity, so I'd rather have 14 and good than 42 and completely goddamn busted. And it's all rather well timed, given the elephant in the room, which is NetEase. When I say NetEase, you're probably thinking about Rivals as the big bit of competition. Yes, but also no, because NetEase is also the Overwatch 2 distributor in China, right? So no matter what, NetEase is going to win. And Overwatch was big in China. Get a load of this, right?
Bro.
If you go to Steam right now, you will see that Overwatch 2 has got a fairly brutal review score.
Yeah, as it
now,
should.
at launch, it was worse. And at launch, around 2/3 of the reviews were written in simplified Chinese. And of those reviews, 97% were negative, right? That's crazy. They were really pissed.
Literally good.
And that's because at that time, negative Steam reviews were just about the only real way the Chinese players could express their anger over Overwatch 2's shutdown in China, and especially do that in a way that actually would be noticeable in the West, not just on, a social media network that only is in China that the rest of us never really see.
True.
So sure, while the Steam score has risen to 42, it's now no longer overwhelmingly negative, but even to this day, there are more negative reviews in simplified Chinese than there are reviews of any kind in English, which is...
I mean, the Chinese player base is massive, so this makes sense, and their frustration is also understood, and I sympathize. Like, they are absolutely in the right to review bomb Overwatch for this. Like, are you kidding me? Like, Overwatch has not been a good game for a very, very long time, and I think this season is gonna slowly turn things around for it, but they have to match the pacing. They have to match the pacing of all the other games that are gonna be coming out, and especially with Marvel Rivals, like, Marvel devs are working overtime. Like, you guys need to be on your A game. You can't mess up, you can't slack, you can't extend anything. Everything comes out when you say it comes out, because you're setting a precedent that you're locking in and that you acknowledge that the competition is in town. You gotta show up. You cannot extend and be like, okay, well, actually, we changed our mind and we're gonna come out with this in, in a season from now. Like, no, you gotta lock in and pump out content. That's the only way you stay afloat.
Yeah, Overwatch kind of was a big deal in China, right? And that's why all of this is very well timed, because these announcements from Blizzard dropped during the Chinese relaunch's technical testing. And that means this really does look like, pretty damn well-timed PR. They've announced all of these changes right as they're reactivating their Chinese player base, which we know is goddamn huge. Number one, because Overwatch went down pretty well there. Number two, because China's absolutely humongous. Now, it also will help that over in China, they do get their own very special loot box currency. A fun way for them to catch up on those 12 seasons worth of cosmetics.
That's crazy.
And of course, hand over many yuan. Anyway, what this does mean is that yes, externally we look at this, we see Rivals, and it feels like Blizzard just smashed that emergency button. But the thing is, software is kind of hard. It does take quite a while to make software, and if this team was capable of mounting a full response...
Software is hard to make, but you have billions of dollars. You have millions of dollars. Okay, you don't hide behind this, okay, but it's hard to make. Yes, but you have money, and money solves a lot of those problems. You have made millions and millions of dollars off of your fan base. There is zero reason why you should be using the excuse, oh, but software is hard. Okay, hire better people to do it then. Hire better, not more knowledgeable and faster people to make it. Okay, if it's slowing down and you got the money, then you probably don't have the right people. It's that simple.
Space of 2 months, I mean, Overwatch would not be in this mess in the first place if they were capable of that pace of development, because it would basically be kind of inhuman, and I'd really be wondering what kind of marching chocolate Phil Spencer is slipping them. But here's the thing, I'm not saying that just to defend the Overwatch team or anything like that. Oh no, Rivals has had an impact in how it has woken them up and how it is going to shape how they think about how they build things. I've actually talked about that, and
I think Marvel Rivals opened up all of these companies' third eye, and it awakened something in them that wasn't there before. Like most companies haven't done. We're kind of used to the microtransactions in games. We're kind of used to the whole pay your way to level up or whatever, etc., etc. Marvel Rivals did it so perfectly. They made everything so cheap and readily available for everybody, on top of the game being free and on top of the IP that is they just pull from, which is infinite because it's Marvel. On top of the fact that they listen to their community, so when there's a community outrage on Twitter or on Steam or whatever social media, right? Or if there's just a content creator outrage, they listen. They're like, okay, what's wrong? How can we help? How can we make this situation better for our players and our content creators? And let's find a fix for it. They communicate effectively and they work fast. They don't wait until the next patch in order to update the game. They just do it right then and there. Like the communication is phenomenal, and their response time is phenomenal. And they actually listen. They don't just go after your wallet. They know we're gonna open our wallets if we're listened to. That's the difference. Is they know we will open our wallets and give them our money happily if they just listen to us. That's all people want. But like companies like Blizzard, they just don't understand.
Into the sorts of just infinite meeting, humming and hawing that kind of kills a lot of games. To explain this, you gotta feel just how flat and shitty 2024 was for Overwatch, right? It was stagnation, it was deeper monetization, felt bad, and then Rivals shows up in December and absolutely goddamn clobbers it, right? It's just beating its corpse. It's already dead, popping off. All Overwatch 2 had to combat it was an old mode's coming back. Here's another hero, one of many, an avatar, brand collab, and the usual events, which were rehashed. So externally, Overwatch 2 absolutely looked like managed decline. I mean, you just saw the rate of growth, the stagnancy, the monetization going up and up and up. And that is at least a large part of why Rivals was so emotionally resonant. People wanted hero stuff, they wanted the fun of like the good old days of Overwatch, and finally that was here. But we've since learned a little more, and I'm going to TLDR a lot of it for you. Now, developers are sharing some timelines. As an example, they say that Stadium has been in development for years. And I get how that may sound real wacky. I mean,
Stadium has been in development for years? Okay, so how many years? Give us a number. Because if it's 2 years, I would understand. But if it's been 6 years, what the fuck are you doing? I've seen indie developers, like two-man teams, that have created a game in less time than that. So what you have unlimited budget and what, 4 years? That's insane.
You can slap a third-person camera on those characters, which is already a thing from community maps and stuff. You can throw together a stadium map and do a round system. Done, right? Yeah, absolutely, if you're doing a prototype, and you'll need to do that prototype to know if the thing is even worth pursuing. But, there's a big live service. The thing that you throw together as a prototype will not be ready for production. Like any software engineer will tell you that, even take things like the ability modifiers.
You're being nice. I'm gonna tell you right now, there are indie developers that are working with 1/25 of the budget that Blizzard has and that Overwatch team has, and they are doing infinitely more in less time, okay? There are these small indie companies that have like 4-man teams or 3-man teams or just even a 1-man show, and in 2 years, he puts out a beauty, okay? I don't want this constant excuse of, oh, well, you know, software is hard and it takes years of testing. Brother, no. You have an entire team around you. You have millions of dollars. You have benefits. You have salary. Those indie developers, they're working off of Patreon donos and they're making better games than you. I don't want to hear this excuse anymore. It is getting old.
At multiplicatively more interactions, with that scaling kind of exponentially as you add more and more characters. It basically means RIP QA. We already know those guys have it hard. Now, what I am sure of is that Rivals has helped them position and market their changes so that they'll actually, resonate, hit with their audience, because Rivals will have taught them things. It's not to say that Rivals directly meant that these new features were greenlit, but what we do actually know is that Rivals has directly influenced development, just not in a pull stadium and perks out of a hat in 2 months way. I'd actually say in a far more important way, in that specifically, it's given them a kick up the arse. That's basically what Aaron Keller said. He's the game director, he spoke to Games Radar, and he basically said that Rivals gave them focus and confidence. Or if I was to put it in my own...
So your community didn't do that for you? Nah, all the Overwatch players that have given you years and years of their time, effort, and money, and attention, and all of the people that streamed your game, nah, none of that did it for you? I guess we'll just go fuck ourselves.
Ship, motherfucker, ship. Stop having meetings. So yes, confidence is one way to put it. I imagine it is far more of an, oh shit, if we fall prey to our usual indecision, we'll be totally whacked. I imagine it's that, but point taken. And he does give examples. One direct change is competitive banning, where Rivals launch basically gave people in the Overwatch team who are pushing for that as an option, validation.
Yeah.
And what I think makes this land is one quote from Keller. He said this: "When I look back a bit at some of Overwatch's development, we were a little adverse to taking risks because we didn't want to cause harm to the game."
You didn't want to cause harm to people that you catered to. There is a difference. Not to the game. You didn't want to cause harm to the people you catered to. For example, One Tricks. We have been telling you that hero bans belong in a game like Overwatch. League of Legends did it very, very prominently, and they gave not only 2 bans, they gave 5 bans to each team. Each person on every team gets to ban. I am not saying that's going to work on Overwatch by any means. You cannot have 5 bans on Overwatch. That is not healthy for the game. That would not work logistically. You'd ban half the roster. But what I am saying is that bans in general work, and 2 hero bans is what we have been asking for such a long time. But you wanted to cater to the One Tricks. You wanted to cater to the people that only play Widow and only buy Widow skins and only play Reinhardt and only buy Reinhardt skins and only play Mercy and will not swap off Mercy and only buy Mercy skins. That's why you didn't do it. Not because it was going to hurt the game, but because it was going to hurt your wallet. There's a massive difference. Stop lying. We all know. You're treating us like we're children. We know why. The One Trick problem is a massive problem in Overwatch. There are more One Tricks in Overwatch than any other game that I've ever played in my entire history of playing video games. I've never seen a community One Trick characters harder than the Overwatch community. It is a massive problem, and that's one of the biggest reasons why you didn't employ hero bans. And you use the excuse, whoa, we don't have enough characters. Okay, Marvel Rivals doesn't have enough characters, and it worked out really well for them. And now all of a sudden, you want to do hero bans? I'm not saying I don't want it, but I'm saying it's a little late, no? So let's stop the lying a little bit. Let's stop lying and face reality.
I would call that, I suppose, unmanaged decline. It feels similar to managed decline, but a lot of it is just not having a strong cadence of shipping. But now, I think they've quite rightly realized we don't have the luxury of fear. We don't have the luxury of infinite meetings.
We'll say the only people that Marvel Rivals hasn't really poached yet are the pro players. Like, I'm talking about the people that have dedicated their life to Overwatch and they make money off of Overwatch by competing at a very high level. I feel like those are the only people that those are the only people that Overwatch hasn't lost as of yet, is the hardcore, like, pro players that have been doing this for years and years. Those guys aren't going anywhere. They're very used to Overwatch and they love Overwatch, and I don't blame them. Like, they're not gonna go away anytime soon. But if things don't get better, and they have been getting better, it's not what I'm saying, but if they don't get any better than they already are, you're gonna lose those guys too.
Blizzard to fight. Yeah, the funny thing about how I ended that paragraph is Blizzard can spend all of this money to fight Rivals, and NetEase will just sit back happy thinking, yeah, that's right, you juice up Overwatch. We'll take that Overwatch 2 money in China. By the way, we're also doing Rivals. We own the goddamn market. Yeah, the real winner, it's NetEase. As for Overwatch, look, put it this way, my frustrations were rooted in that stagnancy and that lack of sauce, and how it felt like Overwatch 2 was just taking over, bare minimum, pushing monetization to the max, full cash cow, style managed decline, right? And sure, they didn't go full-blown League of Legends, you know, not literally Gucci logos, but League of Legends would sell you a $3,000 t-shirt if they thought they could. Even right now, after all the bad news leaked.
That's the thing about League, though. You have to treat League like Genshin, okay? People that play League, they are well aware what they're doing, okay? It's like logging on to Genshin and then spending $100 and then acting surprised. Dog, you know the game you're playing, okay? I'm not saying League is a gacha game, but I'm saying you have to treat it the exact same way, strictly for how much they charge for their skins.
League has had, they have another multi-$100 gacha FOMO skin that's pissed people off. But Blizzard were getting close. Think about how much it costs for the Reinhardt, mythic skin and the mythic hammer. It's a lot of beans. And that felt bad. But when I look at Stadium, I actually see something that could work, right? And the reason why is because that's not the Overwatch that I played. It's not a tweak on a map. It's not a tweak on a character. It is a new experiential reason to play.
I'm excited to try it.
That goddamn matters because it's not something that Marvel Rivals has. Now, I'm sure they could whip that up in no time, but the point is, it's actual competition through a different experience, a different game mode. Thinking about the perks, that helps a major stagnancy problem with this game. There's a new character, there's a new tank in December. I didn't give a shit. I know the characters that I enjoy right now. Maybe if I was playing the game all the time, I'd be hooked by this.
I'm gonna be honest, Hazard did not captivate me as much as I thought he would. Like, I logged on, played Hazard, and I don't know. He didn't feel great to play. Does that make sense? Like, he felt so lackluster. It didn't feel like I was actually playing a tank. It felt like I was playing a DPS in some ways.
I'm just thinking, oh shit, all those characters I know, I've got new perks. I've got new things to select. That's actually a reason to return to the game, because I like the game, not because, say, I like Avatar: The Last Airbender and, oh, there was a collaboration, which is not going to get me back. This is not Overwatch 2 PvE. This is not what Blizzard promised, and it is never going to be. I personally am over that. I have moved on. Overwatch 2 to me is kind of just a hero shooter with some good character design, some good gameplay, certainly some troubles, but it's another hero shooter I can play, just like Rivals. What we will probably never get is Overwatch as a fully fledged, deep intellectual property with rich characters, rich story, and truly memorable experiences.
That's gone now.
On an emotional level, a narrative level. Now. Think about the promise of all those big cinematics that people saw, that kind of captured people's minds. And even if a few of them were a bit cheesy, come on, the Reinhardt one, the Bastion one, those were damn good little short films, right? That's what we could have got. And it's not just the Overwatch 2 that Jeff Kaplan talked about at BlizzCon. Think back to Jason Schreier's book in Blizzard, where we learned that some fun C-suite executive headhunting skullduggery led to a falling out between Blizzard and Netflix, which does mean that Overwatch as a brand could have been so much more. Remember when skins used to mean new lore? And the community would start thinking, oh shit, what does this skin mean about this character's backstory? What does this mean about the lore? People were really in deep. Every little detail mattered. And that meant that Blizzard could do a skin monetary value, but it would also have deep brand investment value. But now, skins are just, you pull a theme out of a hat. We like Dungeons and Dragons, so hey, you could get Mythic Tracer in armor. How adorable. Buy it. That doesn't tell me anything about Overwatch as a world. That doesn't deepen my investment in the uniqueness of Overwatch 2.
True.
It is simply selling me something that I like in this thing that I play. And that does not make superfans. So many superfans of the late 2010s, they were lit up by that more deep and running under its own power Overwatch on a creative level. Now, these changes are great. And look, I'll praise a company when they're actually trying to ship content and move the needle in a positive way. But these are changes within the bounds of what Overwatch 2.
Null Sector skins
suffered under its leaders.
We didn't have them, and then they came out, and everybody went crazy for them.
And not what Overwatch,
Null Sector,
the brand,
bro. It's cool.
could have been, which will forever be a sad thing. One of the things in the interview junket for all of this is the Blizzard team basically saying, we can't do that. It's kind of impossible. We got to roll with what we've got and move it in a good direction. And that's pragmatic. That is true. But that's the thing that a lot of the execs don't get when they make those short-termist sorts of decisions that treat the games purely as short-term to medium-term revenue sources, right? They don't get the long tail. They don't get the deeper meaning, the deeper brand value, the sort of thing that makes Overwatch not a flash in the pan that people talk about for 10 years, but that makes it a IP that could last 50 years. Which is all to say, this direction looks good. I'm glad they're actually doing it. Still, it's bittersweet, because Overwatch 2 could have been so much more.
Could have been
now, obviously,
one of the
Rivals
best
is
games that have ever been created
like,
ever.
Aggressor, the new kid in the block. There was race.
I'm not even trying to like glaze Overwatch like that, but Overwatch actually could have been one of the greatest games of the last decade. I'm not even joking. It could have been. It had every opportunity to be the best of the best to ever come out, and they fumbled. They just fumbled it incredibly to make short-term money.
About
for
a director, right?
instead
from
of
the
long-term
American team,
value.
and the American team, which was very small, being jettisoned. But as it turns out, this is a wider NetEase strategy, and it's likely going to hit many more studios through this year.
Yeah.
There's some corporate skullduggery.
Yeah.
There is some insiders leaking to the press about what William Ding, the CEO of NetEase, wants to do. So to learn about that, check out this video next.